60 years ago, the world was going through a period of extraordinary change. Vibrant movements for civil rights were galvanizing an awareness of racial justice, and people were demanding rights and recognition to be seen and heard. South Africa remained firmly entrenched in apartheid. And in fact, I was shocked recently to read in the UN archives the former apartheid government's attempts to justify its racist system of segregation when objecting to parts of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But at the same time, across the African continent and elsewhere, states were emerging from colonization. In this period of hope, energy, and promise, the international community came together to examine one of the fundamental questions of the time: how to ensure the equality and dignity of all people, no matter their race, color, descent, or origin. The result, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, was a milestone. And today, the Convention is one of the most widely ratified human rights treaties in the world, with 182 state parties. We celebrate 60 years of the Convention, and we stand up for equality, justice, and dignity. That must take the form of immediate, concrete action by states and societies everywhere. Major progress followed the Convention, including new laws around the world prohibiting racial discrimination and the historic end of apartheid in South Africa. However, racism continues to poison our communities, politics, media, and the online world. I'm alarmed by the increase in dehumanizing narratives that both feed on and fuel fear and division. This toxic rhetoric is amplified by social media so that it echoes throughout the online world and seeps into our offline lives. Racial and ethnic groups continue to be targeted, excluded, and scapegoated. Structural and institutional racism holds them back and impacts their rights. And we see a proliferation of racist violence and hate crimes. Recent studies in Europe have identified a worsening trend of racism against people of African descent, as well as ongoing, pervasive discrimination against Roma. The poverty rate for indigenous peoples exceeds 40% in multiple countries in Latin America, and in schools across the United States, the number of hate crimes reported nearly doubled between 2018 and 2022. Black Americans were the most frequent victims. Racism has stained the fabric of our world for centuries. It's a global issue, and it continues to damage everyone. Our response to this hatred, exclusion, and division is clear. We must stand up for justice together, work with affected communities, and challenge the biases in our societies. States must account for the terrible legacies of the past and help to overcome hundreds of years of discrimination, including through reparations. We cannot accept any rollback of hard-won gains. Our societies have to dismantle entrenched power structures and confront white supremacy. And we must all push for equality at every opportunity. Together, we are a force for change. We must be the architect of a future in which racial discrimination is a thing of the past.